Hello YouTube and welcome back to another video. This is Champion 2D Rob back again, and yeah, I thought we would jump right into it. This is going to be my PlayStation 4 collection, and I have to say guys, pulling all this stuff out made me realise how many games I actually have for it. I didn't realise I had this many games, which was really quite shocking. So yeah, it's probably sort of reinforced in my mind that I probably have to hold off a little bit before I start picking up more PS4 games. I mean, of course, there are stuff that I still want to get, but I definitely want to sort of just ease off a bit, and just spend more time with what I've got, rather than just sort of letting it build up. Because there's quite a bit here. I mean, I'm sure there are people who are going to say to me, that's not that much compared to me, but I think it's a lot anyway. But I'm going to jump right into it, guys. I do have, I mean, you're going to see a lot of the usuals. I've got a few indie releases, of course, and I'll also show you guys the stuff from Limited Run and those sort of indie releases as well. So let's just jump right into it, guys. First game I'm going to pull out here, I think, is going to be Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. Now, I love this game on PS3. Thought it was fantastic, and I had to buy it again. And yeah, played it again. I've played this game now quite a few times, and I think it's fantastic. And I think if you're a fan of like the Uncharted series, definitely give the Tomb Raider reboot a try. Next up is Deadlight Director's Cut. Now, this is an indie title. This is basically a 2D sort of puzzle platformer. Think along the lines of games like Abe's Odyssey. It's really cool though. It's basically set like in a zombie apocalyptic world. It's got some very nice graphics, very dark and grim. Great atmosphere to it. It's definitely a bit of a gem in my book. Definitely look this one up, guys. That's Deadlight Director's Cut. Next game I have here is Giana Sisters Twisted Dreams Director's Cut. This is a very fun platformer. It's basically for those of you that like the old school sort of 2D platformers from the 8 and 16-bit generation. This is definitely one game to try out. Next couple of games here, I've got the Mega Man Legacy Collection as well as the Mega Man Legacy Collection 2. Yeah, just basically a compilation of all the Mega Man games. So in the first collection you've got Mega Man 1 to 6, which are basically the 6 NES titles, and on collection 2 you have Mega Man 7 and 8 as well as 9 and 10. 7 and 8 were 16-bit and 32-bit games, and 9 and 10 were modern games that were sort of done in the 8-bit style, so sort of gone back to the old school NES style of graphics. Were the additions. I was thinking of selling these ones on and getting them for the Switch, but it looks like the Switch version, the second Legacy Collection might be downloadable only, so I think I'll just stick with these PS4 versions instead. Next game I have here is Shovel Knight. A very cool game. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Shovel Knight. Very old school 8-bit style 2D game, but it's a modern game, just sort of done in a retro style. It's a cool game. I definitely think this is sort of one of the better sort of indie games. I'll be honest, I'm not really a fan of sort of the modern 8-bit, modern sort of 8-bit style games. I don't know for what it is. They just don't do it for me. But this one is actually a lot of fun. It's very hard though, but I probably wouldn't make a habit of buying these sorts of games, but generally I think this one's pretty good though. I did enjoy this one. Next game I have here is Sniper Elite 3. Haven't played it yet, but I have played the Sniper Elite games in the past, and they're a lot of fun, but I have yet to play this one. Haven't tried it out yet. Next one is Titanfall 2. This is the only first-person shooter I have in my collection. I'm not usually a fan of the genre, but I've played this one. I actually think it's pretty good. The setting, the sort of futuristic setting, the fact that you can sort of jump in and out of mechs, really adds to it. I think the gameplay is fun. It really works for me, and I quite enjoyed this one. As someone who's not even a fan of first-person shooters, this was a fun game. So definitely check out Titanfall 2. Next game I have here is Blaze Blue. This is Blaze Blue Central Fiction. Just a fantastic fighting game. If you like your 2D fighting games, you can't do worse than the Blaze Blue series. It's awesome. It's Arc System Works. I mean, anything really by Arc System Works, you know you're going to get a solid 2D fighter. Beautiful hand-drawn graphics, just amazing. Just well worth playing. And of course, another Arc System Works game here. I've got Guilty Gear XRD Revelator. Yeah, just another fantastic game from Arc System Works. Beautiful graphics. I think this one is more in a 2.5D style, but it's just fantastic. It's still like a 2D fighting game. Beautiful, beautiful graphics. This is definitely one to get if you're into your 2D fighters. Next I've got here is Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. Yeah, I never grew up playing with the Crash Bandicoot games. So really this is sort of like my first foray into the series. I do actually own them on the PlayStation 1, but I've never actually had time to play them. But this one, I have put some time into it. I've only played the first game so far. I want to play them in order. It's very hard. It is very hard. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if it's just because I'm old or what, but it's really hard to get into. But it's a lot of fun though. I definitely worth checking out this collection of games. Next one I have here is Rise of the Tomb Raider, the follow-up to the excellent original. And yeah, I thought this was a great game. The only thing I felt that let this game down a bit was the story. It was a little bit too generic for my liking, but otherwise it's a fantastically well made game. It's beautiful for one thing. Graphically it's amazing. Just great gameplay. It's a really great adventure sort of game, but I think from a story standpoint, I did think it was a little bit of a letdown. But it didn't break it for me. Like, I still found this game thoroughly enjoyable. But I've only played this through once. I need to go back to it. Usually these sorts of games I go back to time and time again, but I've only actually played this one once, so I may go back to it very soon. And next one I have here is The Walking Dead: New Frontier. Yeah, this is a fun, enjoyable game. I'm very much a fan of these sort of point and click Walking Dead games. The only issue I really have is just the way Telltale makes the games. They're very buggy. You know, there's a lot of issues in terms of glitches and graphical nonsense like that, which for me ruins the experience. And in the case of this particular one, it's actually like this is a season pass disc. So it's basically like you buy the physical, but you still have to go on PlayStation Network and download each chapter, which I found kind of annoying. But it was a fun game. I don't think it's as good as the previous two, but it was definitely fun to play when I didn't have to keep resetting my chapters because of all the bugs and the glitches, which kind of annoyed the crap out of me. I mean, really, Telltale, I mean, not to go into a rant, but they need to sort themselves out, and it kind of prevents me from buying any more of their stuff because, you know, aside from the fact that I do enjoy the storylines in these games because I think they're well written, but otherwise, yeah, I won't be trying out their other games. Moving on, let's see. I have here Shantae, half a Genie hero. Now this actually hasn't come out officially in the UK. We're actually getting a director's cut, which is actually going to be available for the Switch, and I actually plan on picking it up for the Switch because it has all the sort of downloadable content, all the extra missions and whatnot. So I don't know if I'll ever actually get around to playing this one, because once the Switch version comes out, that's probably the one I'm going to play. But I really look forward to playing this though. It's brilliant. It's a 2D platformer. Just very much, if you're a fan of like the 16-bit genre, this is definitely the sort of game you want to be checking out for the PlayStation 4. But just bear in mind, guys, at the time of this video, there is going to be like a brand new PlayStation 4 as well as a Switch version of this game. That's basically the director's cut. It's going to have all the extra missions and stuff. So don't bother picking this one up. Pick up the one after that. Okay. Next games, I think let's do basically the limited run games I've got here. just got a little stack here actually. Continuing on with Shantae, I have Shantae Risky's Revenge, as well as Shantae's and the Pirate's Curse. I bought these both off limited run. These were very high in demand. They are both sealed. I haven't actually played these versions, but I have actually played Shantae. I've actually played both of these games. I have Risky's Revenge downloaded on my 3DS, and I have played it. It's a fun game, awesome platformer. But the one I've really spent time with is Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, which I also happen to own on the 3DS, and I've actually played this game. I'm actually at the last boss on this one, but I got stuck. The last level is really hard, but it's such a fun game. Not sure when I'll get around to opening these ones up, but I don't plan on keeping them sealed. I do like to play my games. I don't keep sealed games generally, but because I kind of have both on different formats, I don't know when I'll get around to playing these ones. But yeah, I'm really glad to get them though, because yeah, trying to get physical copies, especially of Risky's Revenge, which is not available physically anywhere else, so just chuffed to have them in my collection. Next limited run game I've got here, and that's Darius Burst Chronicle Saviors. Yeah, I'm a fan of Darius Burst. I played Darius Burst back in the day on other systems, and it's just nice to have a brand new game in the series. And yeah, it's a fun game. It's a really good shooter. Next limited run game I've got here, and that's Skullgirls Second Encore. This is basically like the sort of special edition. It's a 2D fighter. What can I say? It's a beautiful hand-drawn 2D fighting game. If you like 2D fighters, definitely check out Skullgirls Second Encore. Next game I have here is Shadow Complex. This is a very cool game. It's very much in the sort of Metroid vein, sort of exploration 2D side scroller. Really cool game. I didn't actually know much about this game at the time of its release, so I did have to resort to eBay to get this, because at the time I knew nothing about it. But once I saw a few reviews, I had to pick it up, and I've actually played through this. Yeah, really cool game. Definitely worth checking out, guys. It might be a bit too expensive for most people if you try and track down a physical copy, but if you don't mind paying a bit more for a physical, then definitely check it out. But otherwise, you know, probably worth checking the download if it's still available. I don't know, but it's a really good game. If you like your Metroid games, definitely check out Shadow Complex. Next game I have here is Wonder Boy and the Dragon's Trap. Basically, sort of like a remaster of an old school Sega Master System game. Yeah, it's cool. It's a fun game. I didn't grow up with the with the Wonder Boy games, and so I don't really have any nostalgia for it. So I did love the sort of the added 2D graphics, but from a gameplay standpoint, it's not. Like, I'm not really that impressed by it, because it is essentially the same old Master System version. But I think for those that have nostalgia for the game, they probably enjoy it more. But for me, it was just okay. I wasn't blown away by it in any way. Probably a little bit too basic for my liking. And then finally, the last limited run game I have here is Windjammers. This is basically an old arcade game, a Neo Geo game, that was basically updated and ported over to PS4 just so they could add sort of online functionality to it. And it's a fantastic game. It's basically think like Pong, but with like really updated early 90s sort of cheesy arcade graphics, except like you're sort of throwing a frisbee. If you guys are familiar with like air hockey, you know, it's kind of like that. It's like a top-down view, and you can sort of like throw the frisbee and it sort of rebounds off the walls and stuff. You can do all sorts of power moves. This is a great, really fun game to play. Great pick up and play sort of game. If that's what you're looking for a really fun game that you can just pick up and even play local multiplayer or co-op or online co-op, whatever you want to do. It's so much fun to play with other people as well as just playing it by yourself. It's a lot of fun. Definitely recommend Windjammers. Okay, moving on, I have next selection of games I have Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. Like, I'm a huge fan of the Uncharted series, so I'm always happy to see a brand new game in the series. This was a very, very good spin-off game with some of the other characters from the series. A lot of fun. I enjoyed it. It's definitely worth getting, especially because it's a budget release, so definitely worth checking out. Of course, I have to have Uncharted 4. Absolutely fantastic game. Totally lived up. You do get kind of nervous when they release a new Uncharted because you always start to wonder if it's going to live up to the previous game, but luckily it did. It was fantastic. It didn't let me down. I've played through this game so many times. I honestly couldn't tell you. I think I've played this game like maybe 6 or 7 times. I love it. It's fantastic. The Last Guardian. Now, this is a game that at the time of this video I'm actually currently playing. I've just started playing this game. I've from the makers, from the people that have done this game. Like, I played Ico, but I've yet to play Shadow of the Colossus. But so I played Ico. I completed that game. I thought it was good. I wasn't really that blown away by it. But this game very much reminds me of Ico, so I look forward to seeing what this game has to offer. Dragon Ball FighterZ. This is absolutely fantastic. I'm a huge fan of Dragon Ball Z, so this game just utterly appealed to me. Just a fantastic 2D fighting game, done by Arc System Works. Again, just amazing. If you like Dragon Ball Z, this is what you want. If you're into your 2D fighters, definitely check this out. Definitely probably one of the best games of the year for me. I'm not gonna lie, in 2018 this is just definitely one of the better games. I'm currently sort of playing through the story mode of it, but the story's a bit, but it's just the gameplay, the graphics, it's just the fan service. It's just the little details is what I enjoy, and I just love playing through this game. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, love it. Here's one I never thought I would pick up, just down to some of the silly business decisions that Capcom have done, and that's Street Fighter V. I picked up the arcade edition. Basically, this has all the stuff that was essentially missing from the initial release. You've got like, I think about 20 odd characters in here. You've got story mode, arcade mode, etc. Just basically the game it should have been upon its release. I picked it up at for a cheap price, and it's a lot of fun. This is a fun game to play. I'm not too crazy about the graphics. I wish it looked more like the Arc System Works games. But it's still a fun game, and I do enjoy it. Another game here, and this is an import, and that's Darius Blaze. This is a game that initially came out on the PlayStation 3. It's a shoot 'em up, a bullet hell sort of shooter, and this is a fun one. I really did enjoy this game. Yeah, it's a great game. If you like shooters, definitely recommend checking out Darius Blaze. Next game I have here is Assault Suit Leno. This is basically an update of an old, I believe an old Japanese Mega Drive game. It's also related to the Super Nintendo game Cybernator. It's part of that same series. It's a cool game. It's a 2D game. It's a 2D action sort of side-scroller game where you're sort of like in a big giant mech. It's decent. It's decent. It can be quite tricky. The controls are quite tricky because you've got to remember, like, you're in a big sort of a big heavy mech, so you are moving kind of slow. But I think once you get used to the controls, that I think the game really opens up. But it's visually very nice. It's a cool little indie game. Next up, I have a Dex. This is a cool little game that sort of popped out of nowhere. I sort of stumbled upon it. It's basically a 2D side scroller, action adventure noir kind of game. It's sort of set like in a Blade Runner-esque sort of futuristic world. It's like a 2D game. It's a side scroller, but it's more sort of exploration based. You sort of have to find keys, open doors. You have to hack computers and whatnot. It's a very cool little game. I think more people should sort of check it out. It's got some decent little sprite work as well. Very, very cool game. It's definitely very much more of an RPG, but just sort of it plays like a 2D side scroller. Very, very cool game. Next one I have here, and this is definitely one of the favorites in my collection, and that's Wild Guns Reloaded. Essentially a remake, remaster of a Super Nintendo game, a very rare Super Nintendo game. This is basically sort of like a shooter, a on-rails sort of shooter game. Although you can actually move the characters, so you sort of see it from you see the characters from a third-person perspective, but you move the cursor on the screen, and you also can move the character as well. It's a lot of fun. It sort of combines sort of a Western theme with sort of like futuristic tech. It's very, very cool. It's such a fun pick up and play sort of game. If you're into your sort of arcadey games, definitely check out Wild Guns Reloaded. This is a really, really good game. Definitely one of my favorites. Next set of games I have here. The next one is Teslagrad. This is basically a 2D platformer. It's like a puzzle platformer. Very nice. Very sort of 2D artwork, 2D hand-drawn artwork. Just a beautiful game. If you like something more chilled out, you're into your sort of puzzle platformers, definitely give it a shot. Next one I have here is Resident Evil Revelations 2. It's still sealed. I haven't gotten around to playing this one yet, but I loved the first Resident Evil Revelations. I thought that game was awesome. I completed that, but I just haven't gotten around to playing the sequel yet, so I look forward to doing so. Batman Arkham Knight. I started this game. I've been a fan of the series, but I started this game and I just sort of got sidetracked. So I need to go back and play this again. I don't know why. I started playing when I sort of got to the driving bit where you start driving around the Batmobile. I got kind of distracted and I sort of left the game. So I kind of need to start over. But it seems okay, but I don't know what it is. But this game just doesn't pull me in like the previous games in the series. But I'll definitely go back and give it another shot. Next game I have here is Wipeout the Omega Collection. This is basically like an updated remaster or a greatest hits of sort of like the levels and stuff of the previous games. And I'm a huge fan of the Wipeout series ever since the first game on the PlayStation 1. And this game is just fantastic. Beautifully, graphically it's beautiful. The levels are awesome, the gameplay is top. If you want a futuristic racer, this is definitely one of the better ones to get. It's Wipeout. You just can't go wrong with Wipeout. It's excellent. Love it. Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, this is a game I was excited to get, but once I started playing it, I don't know if it was just the mood I was in or whatnot, but I kind of sort of abandoned it. Not because I thought the game was bad in any way. I actually think the game is really good, and I've put a lot of hours into this game. I know I've sunk about at least 8 hours into the game. It is a good game. It's a big open world third person action game, but it is a very slow moving game, and the story does take a while to get going. There's a lot of side quests and just a lot of things to do in the world, and you sort of have this massive map which sort of gradually opens up to you as you sort of move along. But it's important to note that you really need to be patient with this game, because you need to familiarize yourself with the gameplay, because once you start encountering new animals, new sort of giant monster animals, you have to sort of plan your tactics of how you're going to take them down, because not all of them can be brought down the same way. It's a fun game, but I think I do need to go back to it, but I don't know why. But lately, a lot of these open world games have just been, I don't know, like I'm just struggling to just sort of focus my attention on them. I don't know. I don't have a short attention span, but I guess it's just my life how it is at the moment. I just don't have a lot of time to sort of sink hours into a game without any sort of story progression. If you get what I mean, I hope you guys can understand what I'm trying to say. But it's still a fun game though. I mean, from gameplay standpoint, controls, it's all solid. It looks beautiful. But you just have to put a lot of time into it though. You'll definitely get your money's worth. Next game I have here is Raiden V. This is another shoot 'em up, and I'm a fan of the Raiden series, big fan. And yeah, it's a fun game. I mean, it doesn't really do anything new really. It's just another game in the series, and it's a lot of fun. I love the Raiden series. It's probably my favourite shoot 'em up series. I just enjoy them. and I think all the ones I have, I love playing them, and this is no different. It's a fun game, so definitely check it out. Next one I have here is The Order 1886. Now, I've actually put a lot of hours into this game, but I got stuck. I got quite far into it and I got stuck. It's a beautiful looking game and I love the world, but I think the gameplay is very limited. In essence, it's a third person duck and cover shooter. It doesn't really do anything new, but it's got a very cool world. It's sort of set like in the Victorian age, but it sort of deals with the supernatural. It's a very, very cool game. I would love to see this series continue in some form, whether they change the gameplay, like they just completely overhaul it or whatever, but I would like to see more from this world because I thought the characters were interesting, and I just really enjoyed what I saw and what I played. But yeah, I got stuck despite being well into this game, so hopefully I'll go back to it at some point. A fun game. Next games I have here is Mortal Kombat XL. Yeah, fantastic. Mortal Kombat 10, brilliant. This has got all the DLC characters as well. So much fun. Again, if you like your 2D fighters, of course, you know, the Mortal Kombat games have always played a little bit more differently, but this is solid. So much fun. I love all the stuff that NetherRealm packed into the game. Just the story mode, everything about it is just fantastic. Definitely worth checking out. Next I have here is Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes. Still sealed. I'm probably going to have to move this on now because, as you'll see in a second, this has now become redundant. And that's because I picked up Metal Gear Solid 5, and this is the definitive edition. And this has Ground Zeroes as well as the Phantom Pain. I still haven't gotten around to this either. I've just been busy playing other games. But I will get around to this because I'm a massive fan of Metal Gear. I've played all of them. So I look forward to getting around to this one at some point. Though again, you know, the fact that I hear it's sort of more open world, in some ways kind of puts me off. But I will get around to this at some point. Transformers Devastation. This is so much fun. When I saw this for the first time, it really just clicked with me. The old school Generation 1 style Transformers is just, that's my shit. That's my shit. And it's a fun game. I mean, it's a Platinum Games developed game. It's essentially a third person sort of hack and slash sort of game. You can choose from several Transformers. It's so much fun though. I think if you're of a certain age and you grew up with Generation 1 Transformers, this is definitely going to appeal to you. It's absolutely beautiful as well. I love the cel-shaded graphics, the voice acting, it's the gameplay, it's just solid. It's so much fun. Yeah, I really did enjoy this game. TrackMania Turbo. Now I have to admit, I'm not familiar with the TrackMania series, and when I started, I had no idea what I was buying before I bought it, and it looked like an awesome racing game, but what it actually is, it's really not even a racing game. It's sort of like a series of short racing events. So like you can literally complete like a track in about 20 seconds. It's very, very short. It's really about stunts. It wasn't a racing game as I perceived it to be. So it's really quite different. From what I played of it, it's a lot of fun. But I just wish that the tracks were longer. It's really just like really short bursts, which to me is a little bit unsatisfying. So I don't know if I'm going to keep this game. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a fun game, but it just wasn't quite what I was expecting. Uncharted, the Nathan Drake Collection. Well, I've owned all the previous Uncharted games on PlayStation 3, and I had to rebuy on PlayStation 4. Now, the reason why I did that was because I wanted to see what the first game would look like with updated HD visuals. And I think of all three games, that's probably the one that benefited the most from this revision. And I've played through all three of them, of course. I mean, I've played through these games so many times. I've played all the Uncharted games. I've played them multiple times. I never get bored of them. They're games from this generation and last generation. They just absolutely click with me. That's why I love the Tomb Raider game so much. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Chuffed to bits. And I have here the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I can't get into this game, if I'm honest with you. I wanted to give it a chance, but I find the controls a little bit ropey for my liking. I don't know, it's not very fluid. I've heard nothing but good things about this game, which is why I'm not getting rid of it. I probably need to give it another chance, but I'll be honest, I'm not enjoying this game whatsoever. I can't get into it. I don't know. I think the controls are just a little bit too rough for my liking. I don't know. I'll see, but yeah. And the final batch of games here, I have The Walking Dead. Yes, fantastic. Loved it. I've played and completed this multiple times. Like I said before, the Walking Dead point and click games are awesome, but Telltale just needs to really step it up with their actual development of these games, because they're usually very buggy. Then of course I have the sequel here. This one is sealed, but I've actually played through this on PS3. It's fantastic, but like I say, same thing applies to this one. Until Dawn, haven't played this yet. I will be playing this very, very soon. Yeah, I look forward to playing it. I've heard nothing but good things. Pure Pool, absolute waste of time. This is basically an online sort of game. I'm not connected up online. I can't play with other people. You can play this game offline, but the real meat and potatoes of this game is to go online with it. I don't have time to go online. That's why I don't have a subscription. I just don't have time. So I'll probably be getting rid of this. Then I've got Gravity Rush and Gravity Rush 2. I played through the first game. Absolutely fantastic game. So much fun. If you want something a little bit different, definitely check out Gravity Rush. It's not quite what you're expecting. Look it up, guys. It's a fantastic game. Of course, I had to get the sequel, but I haven't played it yet. It's still sealed. And finally, one of my favourite games of all time, and that is The Last of Us Remastered. Fantastic, what can I say? This is another game that I've played so many times, both on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. It's phenomenal. It's a brilliant game. What more can I say? You need to play it. If you have a PS4 or you have a PS3, definitely play The Last of Us. It's well worth it. And that's it, guys. That's basically my PlayStation 4 collection. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Is there any games that caught your eye? Is there any games that you enjoy? Is there any games that you absolutely hate and you're wondering why I have it in my collection? Please let me know. And like I say, guys, thank you very much for watching. Expect to see more collection videos coming out soon. And I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.